What's up guys, Rhino here and welcome back to another FIFA 20 Ultimate Team video on the channel guys. This one today is going to be a little bit different because I'm not going to be doing any of the bog standard videos that you normally see with like SBCs or like rewards, anything like that. It's almost in some ways not kind of like FIFA related, but we're going to use FIFA to help and illustrate with the video. So it's going to be a new kind of squad building challenge type theme that I've come up with. I think a lot of people do it already anyway, but I figured I'd want to do something like this because whenever there's big matches in real life, you tend to find there's various kind of like things that go on like social media where people do like a combined 11 of the two teams that are being matched up. So for example, recently there was obviously like Liverpool versus Man United, and a lot of people like to do those sort of things with that, and I figured I might start with Liverpool as one of the teams, as part of one of the squads, but I was like, you know what, I won't do it just because a lot of Liverpool squads you see at the moment, they are quite one-sided. I didn't want to be too biased with it, so I was like, I'll start with two teams which you know, I don't support, but still two big sides or like big clubs. And we'll start with the Premier League because obviously that's one that a lot of people know a bit more about, and I know a bit more about some of the players in the Premier League than some of the other leagues. So this one today we're going to be doing Manchester United and Arsenal, and it's going to be a combined 11, and then I'm going to have some other players like in the bench reserves that I feel deserve some notable recognition. So to get it underway, goalkeeper. I'm going to go with David De Gea in goal. I personally believe that he is better than Leno. I mean, I don't think it's really up for debate, to be honest. As much as he's not been in the greatest form recently, I do feel like he still definitely deserves a place in this team. My right back, I'm going to go with, and just bear in mind here, I don't actually own all these players because, I mean, I just can't. I don't have enough coins on the game to do that. So most of these are going to be concept players. I'm going to go for Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back. I'm just going to put in the best versions of each card as well, just to kind of make the teams look a little bit better than maybe they actually are in real life. So this first squad is going to be how I would play the team in real life, and then I'm going to then jump to another squad where I've got how I would line up on FIFA if I was to use a Man United Arsenal team. So this first one is in real life, guys. So we're going to have Wan-Bissaka there at right back. I do have it written down here as well, so if I do keep kind of looking across, it's because I'm just trying to jog my memory as to who I've actually put in. So the right side of the defence, we're going to go for Harry Maguire. He's been slated a lot this season because obviously he came to United with a huge price tag. It's made it, to be honest, it's too big a weight to carry. I mean, I know he carries that massive slab head on his shoulders, but you know, it's even heavier than that, and it's unfortunate for him because I mean, he was a very popular player when he was at Leicester, and obviously one of the most popular England players. And actually, before we move on, I'll keep speaking. So yeah, he's a very popular player, but since he's gone to United, I think obviously a lot of people, it's not just because people don't like United. I mean, it's the same with a lot of the top sides. A lot of the top sides, there's a lot of people that hate them, and you come up for a lot more scrutiny. And to be honest, he's had an alright season. It's not like he's had a bad season, but because of the price tag, he was never ever going to live up to it. And being the world's most expensive defender, I believe, let alone centre back, he was never going to perform to those levels. He cost more than Virgil van Dijk, and you know, quite clearly Van Dijk's the best in the world at the moment, and you're never going to be able to live up to it, and therefore no matter what, you're never going to be doing enough, and you're always going to get criticism. So it's been difficult for him, but I still think he's a good player. But yeah, definitely not worth what was spent. But I'd still have him in my combined Man United and Arsenal 11. His partner, it's very, very difficult to pick a partner for Maguire, I've got to say. I've actually gone for Socrates, but honestly, it's completely up for debate. I mean, David Luiz was another option I could have put in. I don't really rate either of them, to be honest. I kind of just went for the best out of a bad situation. I feel like Socrates, you know, as an out-and-out defender, he's probably a player who, you know, he has his bad games. David Luiz has many bad games. I feel like Socrates, if he played at the peak of his powers, he would be much more of a colossus at the back. Looking at like Man United players, kind of like Lindelof or Bailly or Phil Jones, I don't really personally think that I could put any of them ahead of Socrates. So I've gone for him there. Left back is another interesting one. So at Arsenal, there's a few okay players like Monreal, Kolasinac, Kieran Tierney, but none of them are like overly brilliant in my opinion as out and out defenders. So I'm going to go for Luke Shaw. But what I would say is that if Brandon Williams was on FIFA, I would put him in. Undoubtedly, I would put him in my squad. I think he's better than Luke Shaw from what I've seen. He He's only a young lad. I've not seen like huge amounts of him, but from the few kind of United games I have watched, he looks like a top player. And he looks like he's got a big future. And I don't really rate Luke Shaw, to be honest, that highly. But again, kind of a best of a bad situation, which will be a theme for some of the players in this team, because obviously both these clubs are not in the greatest states that they have been. They're all not in decline, I wouldn't say, but they're in the process of rebuilding for sure. So that's going to be the defence there, guys, the goalkeeper. So moving on to midfield. The midfield's it's an interesting one. It's not got much flair in it, to be honest. It's more of a kind of like a workman midfield and a quite more defensive. So on the right side, going to go for Torreira. I rate this guy. I think he's good. Works hard. Got an eye for a tackle. Very aggressive player. He's got a little bit of quality to his game, which he can show at times. I don't think he shows it enough. He's probably like a lot of these players in these teams. He doesn't quite have that consistency, but I do think he's a good player, and I would happily have him in my team. And the central midfielder, more of like the main kind of defensive one, I'm going to go for Scott McTominay. I do think he's a good player. I wouldn't say I necessarily like him in real life. He does seem like a bit of a, but and obviously being a Liverpool fan, it's quite easy to dislike him, but he is a good player. I can't deny that. He's a solid midfielder. He's one of United's best players, to be honest, now, which is saying a lot, to be fair. But yeah, I'm going to go for him in the midfield, and also to top off the midfield, for me, the best player in this midfield three, I'm going to go with Matteo Guendouzi. I think he's phenomenal. He's definitely a player for the future. He will be a top Premier League midfielder in my opinion. I can see him making getting many caps for France as well. Top player. He's still very young. I think 1999 he's born, so he's got many years ahead of him. And just when I watch him, he's another similar to Torreira. He's got that kind of that aggression and that athleticism, and he's got an eye for a pass. This guy, he can get forward, and he can drive forward well. So I would go for him in my team. The forward line is where this team really kind of steps up. This is where the quality comes into play. And even this is up for debate, though. I've got to say, I'm not even fully convinced by the three which I've picked. So not that Pepe for sure, not that Pepe. It's going to be Nicolas Pepe, who I'm going to put in there now. This is an interesting one because he's not exactly hit the ground running, to be honest. This season, he's still kind of settling into the Premier League, but I had to try and strike a little bit of a balance with his team. I didn't want to just put all strikers in and kind of like shoehorn strikers out into wide positions, because I thought, it probably wouldn't play that well. So I've gone for a more natural wide man on the right. But yeah, like I said, it's up for debate, and I'll show you. There's a few ways you could play this, but we'll quickly fill in the other players. So on the left, you're going to go for Marcus Rashford. Again, try and get the top one. I do actually have that card red, so it didn't come up, but I do have the red card of that. So we'll put him in there, and then up front, I'm going to go for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, which I think is probably quite an obvious choice, really, guys. I don't think there's much kind of debate over that. I think Aubameyang and Rashford kind of have to be in the team. They're probably the star men of each side. So we've gone for that there. You could quite easily, so a player that I haven't got in so far, who I will put on the bench, is Lacazette. Now, if you wanted to put Lacazette in instead of Pepe, you could quite easily just say, I'll put Lacazette through the middle, put Aubameyang out on the right, and then have Rashford out on the left. So Lacazette would go in that blank slot there, or maybe you could just swap Rashford and Aubameyang if you want Aubameyang on the left. There's different ways of playing it, but just to get a little bit of kind of natural width in there, we're going to go for Pepe. And I'll just go through some like the kind of honourable mentions for this team and some players who have just missed out. But I'll kind of go through the reasons for that, and I'll show you guys now. So goalkeeper, we're going to put Leno. I think, you know, you've got to go for the two first choice goalkeepers for both teams, but for me, Leno was never going to get in there ahead of De Gea. There's a lot of young players in this bench and reserves. Now, Tuanzebe, I think he's an interesting player. He looks a decent talent. He's put in a few big performances, you know, over the years. I mean, he's not really been around that long. I'm not sure if he's injured or anything. I haven't seen him play in a while, but he does seem to be a good player. And I definitely think he's got a lot of improving that he can make. So I'd put him in there. Maitland-Niles, again, interesting one. I don't think he was ever really in contention to kind of get into the team. I think Wan-Bissaka's got that slot nailed on, but he's a good versatile player. So it was worth giving him a shout. Of course, I mentioned David Luiz previously, so we're going to put David Luiz in on the bench because I think it's honestly give or take. You could put Socrates, you could put David Luiz. I don't think it really makes too much of a difference. I just went for Socrates on this particular occasion. Another player who I definitely wouldn't start, but this would be a really good squad player is Mesut Ozil. Someone just to bring off the bench with a little bit of quality. He's definitely not got the consistency to be like a mainstay in the team, I don't think, but a top player nonetheless. Probably a player who's a little bit on the decline, but it's unfortunate. But he is still a good player, very talented player. Anthony Martial is someone who's very, very unfortunate to miss out. He's going to go onto the bench there. He literally missed out just purely because there is so much quality in these forward lines. And again, a little bit still the consistency. And it's, for me, I don't necessarily like him anywhere near as much as the other players in real life, just because I feel like his attitude isn't great. I don't feel like he works hard enough. He's got the talent, and he's not as bad as some other players. And I'll talk about some other players in a sec. But there are a few players who play in these squads who they have bags and bags of talent. A bit like Ozil maybe, who's bags of talent, but he just doesn't have the work rate to go with it in the application, and it's let him down. And I think Martial is going to do the same, in my personal opinion. But obviously, let me know, guys, what you think, if you agree or disagree with any of these choices. I'd love to see your combined 11s in the comments below. But yeah, for me personally, Martial doesn't really quite get into the starting lineup, but what a phenomenal impact sub. If he's up for it, he's a top player. So of course, mentioned Lacazette before. Going to go for Lacazette. A big miss, to be honest. He's someone who you could quite easily put him in. I would not disagree. If any of you guys said in the comments below that I was mental for leaving out Lacazette, I would not disagree. Like I said, I just wanted to get a little bit of extra natural width by putting in Pepe. But Lacazette is definitely someone who you could quite easily justify going in there. Let's just fill in the rest of the reserve, some other decent players. So Fred is someone who's actually been in some really good form recently, and he was unfortunate to miss out. To be honest, it was between him and Torreira, in my opinion. I went for Torreira. I feel like I've seen Torreira do a little bit more over a longer period of time, but Fred he's in a good way at the moment. And hopefully for his sake, he's finally found his feet at United, and he's going to take it on to the next level and kind of justify that big price tag that they did pay for him. But yeah, not quite good enough for the 11 at the moment. The rest of the players, there's actually a lot of young Arsenal talent who I didn't feel like I could leave out, because I know that a lot of people rave about these particular players, and I can't say that I've seen enough of them. I haven't watched enough Arsenal games to really give a fair comment about them. So I didn't want to leave them out completely, because I felt like that'd be quite harsh, but I didn't want to put them in, because I couldn't really justify it in my own head. So I'll just quickly pop this last one in. Talk about these three players here. So we've got Reece Nelson, who I hear big things about this guy, but I can't say I've seen enough of him personally, and that's my fault. That's not really because he's not played. That's just I haven't watched enough Arsenal games, so I couldn't justify putting him in, especially in a real kind of like quality pack forward line. But he seems like someone who's going to be a top player in the future, from what I've heard. I've seen a bit of Bukayo Saka. Yeah, Bukayo he's called. Yeah. He looks brilliant. I've got to say, he can play like in a variety of positions. And he never seems out of place. He plays in big games and he settles in really nicely, puts in like big performances. He definitely looks like a good player for the future. Joe Willock as well. Similar to Nelson, I've not seen a lot of him. He did score that cracking goal against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup this season, which was a real kind of eye opener for me. I wasn't really aware that he had that in his locker. Which probably justifies a little bit of the hype with him. So he's someone I wanted to include in this video. And there's two more. This last one that's going to actually fit into the squad. There's one player that's not got enough space, but I do want to give him a mention. So this next one, honestly, this guy, I think he's brilliant. I rate this guy very, very highly. Martinelli, I think he's a fabulous player. He's got like 10 goals in 21 appearances this season. He's only like, was he like 18, 19, something like that? Yeah, 2001 he's born, that's crazy. And a lot of those appearances have been off the bench as well. He's like probably like half of them have been starts, half of them have been off the bench. And you know, to score that many goals, and he's keeping some big players out of the Arsenal team at times, and he's getting the appearances ahead of them. He looks like a great player for the future. The goals that he's scoring as well, it's not just like tap-ins or scruffy goals, sorry, they're like real high quality finishes that he's scoring. So I had to include him. Another kind of a similar issue with a lot of these players, they just can't get into the forward line because there are so many top players in there at the moment. And the final player, guys, I did just want to have a little talk about, another one who I do think is going to be very, very good in the future, is this guy here, Dan James. He is, for me, he's exactly the type of player that United need to be buying more of, in terms of like young, hungry, dynamic, aggressive player who, you know, he spent all his time in the lower league, like Swansea. British talent as well. I feel like it's important for them to sign a few more British players. I feel like they need a few more players like him to take themselves to the next level. They've previously been buying a lot of players that have been either like old and just there for the money, or just some young players that just not really cut it. They just seem to be buying a lot of players that are on high wages and big names for the sake of buying big names. It's just not worth them. I think young, hungry talent is what they need in their squad right now. And he's another one. For me, he's done well. I know a lot of people don't think that he's had the best start to life at United, but I think what you've got to remember is that, you know, he's just moved from Swansea. He's a young lad, and he had a fast start, and I think he raised the expectations for himself a little bit too much with his early performances. I think people thought that he was just going to go on and be incredible. So he had that kind of like honeymoon period at the start, and he's dropped off a little bit now, but I do think that you give him like another pre-season. Obviously first year's kind of like a bedding in period for him to adapt to the club, but a little kind of another pre-season, few more games under his belt, I do think that he will develop into a very important player for United. So he's definitely someone that I would want to give a mention to in the squad. So that's it there. But if I was going to play with a Man United and Arsenal team in FIFA, then it might look a little bit different. And a lot of you guys have probably realised there is one massive player that I have left out, and you know, I have my reasons for this, and don't worry, he is included into this squad for any of you fanboys. And we'll get to him. So I'm not going to bother with the bench or reserves or anything like that, because we've seen a lot of those players and they're just young players for the future. So in goal, I'll still stick with De Gea in goal because he's quality on FIFA, obviously much better than Leno. Wan-Bissaka will go in at right back, again, kind of no-brainer. I wouldn't have Maguire though in the defence. I'd actually go for, obviously if I could have it. I mean, I don't have the card, but if you're going for like the best kind of player, I would go for David Luiz, and I would also go for Socrates. Best kind of options, I think, personally, for FIFA. Luke Shaw at left back, again, kind of best of a bad situation. None of the Arsenal left backs are really that great. You could argue Kieran Tierney because he's got pace, but 76 rated card, I couldn't justify that personally. And even if Brandon Williams was in the game, I wouldn't use him. CDM, we've got Torreira. Got a brilliant road to the final card, which will probably only keep going up, to be honest. That could be a brilliant card. A flashback Juan Mata in a left mid there. For me, he's kind of passed it a little bit in real life, obviously, hence why he's got a flashback card. But that is kind of one of the better players that you could go for. Now, this is the player right here. So Paul Pogba. There's probably a lot of you guys, and you'll slate me in the comments, I would have thought, for not including him in the squad completely. But for me, he just doesn't deserve a place. He doesn't deserve a place. Anyone who knows me will know that I have a massive disliking towards this guy. Not as a person, I've got no issue with him as a person, but for me as a footballer, he's just, I want to say he's not good enough. It's not that he's not good enough. He just, his attitude is awful. His work rate is awful. He's a classic example of a player who has massive amounts of talent, but if you don't run around, if you don't show that work rate and desire to go out there and win football matches, you're a waste of time. He almost reminds me a little bit of Balotelli when he was at Man City. There was no doubt in the Balotelli had talent. And you put him in a team with other top players and he'd do well. And Pogba, when he plays for France, when he's got other great players around him who can raise his game, who can carry him a little bit, you put him in midfield next to Kante will do all the running, you let Pogba just go and do what he wants, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. His talent can then shine through. But in a team like Man United who are struggling, a team where you would look to him to raise his game and to drag his team through it, he can't do it. He's very much a luxury player. He's someone who you've got to carry him in some respects. A little bit like Ozil. He will not be. You can't build a team around him. Basically, you can't rely on him to win you games because he'll turn it on sometimes. He'll turn it off other times. If he wants to play, he'll play. So for me, I can't put him in. And to be honest, when was the last time he played for Man United? Really, like he's not played in ages. I know he's been injured, but I have to say that at times I do wonder if he is actually injured or if he just doesn't want to be there. I think that surely he's got to be going in the summer. I don't understand how he could stay. It baffles me that anyone, like, I hear a lot of United fans or even like pundits who talk about him being their best player and that he's got to stay. I don't see how how can he be the best player? I don't understand. I mean, it's so insulting to the rest of the squad to say that he's the best player and to say that he's world class. The man is not world class at all. He's not world class. You cannot just rely on talent, and that is all he does. So he can't be world class. I don't want to talk about him too much more because I feel like this is one of the biggest problems with him, is that everything becomes about him, the one player. And you can even see it like with this video. I've literally probably just spent like 2 or 3 minutes just talking about Paul Pogba, and it shouldn't be the case. It just shouldn't be. You shouldn't be in a situation where you're talking about one individual player, and it's all for the bad, like for the wrong reasons. And this is what happens at Man United. All the talk all the time is about Pogba. Like, talk about some of the other players. Talk about some of the other players who are actually out there playing football and sweating, literally like giving blood for their football club and actually trying to improve themselves and the players around them. So yeah, that is it for me. But obviously, this is a FIFA team. He's great on FIFA. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player on FIFA. But yeah, that's why I haven't included him in the real life team. Just for any of you guys out there that would know. But yeah, let me know, guys. I would honestly love to hear your guys' opinions on that. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that disagree with me. I've spoken to loads of people in real life who disagree with me about that. But that is just my opinion on it. And obviously we like some of the other players as well, because there have been a few positions that have been like really up for debate. So just let me know, guys. But in cam, because I do like to play 4-2-2 narrow. In FIFA, it's kind of my go-to formation. I've gone for Martial. There's a few other players that you could argue, maybe like Lacazette or Pepe. You want to play them in cam. There's a lot of players that could do the job, but I've gone for Martial. And then up front, I've gone for Rashford and Aubameyang, because for me they're the best two players in the squad there. And they're incredible on the game as well. Obviously, both absolutely rapid, like 94 and 95 pace. So that is it, really, guys. That is my Manchester United and Arsenal combined 11 and sort of combined squad as well. I'll bring it back to the real life one just so we see a few more players there. Like I said, let me know in the comment section below what you agree, what you disagree with. I'd love to see your own kind of combined 11s and the players that you prefer to use in FIFA. Just your kind of general thoughts on them. Also like the situations of the two clubs as well, because for me personally, I think that as much as Man United are actually in a better league position as of now, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure United are above Arsenal on the table. I actually think that Arsenal are probably... They're probably going to be the team which actually looks like challenging for a title first. I think Arsenal have a lot more of the building blocks in place. I think they have a better manager, and they have a lot more young talent that will, given a couple of years, will actually put them in a much better position than United. I think United have got a lot of work to do to get back to the top. But let me know your thoughts on that. And also, guys, I would love to know if there's any other teams you would like me to do this kind of video on. Obviously, I've got a few in my head because there's loads of different various matchups that you can do. But if there's any requests for two teams that you'd like me to pit against each other to build a squad or combined 11, then let me know in the comment section below. But that is going to be it from me, guys. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you later.